Good evening. Time being 7 o'clock, a quorum of the planning board being present, I call this meeting to order. For informational purposes, there's a number of applications that have applied for the planning board to be heard that are not going to be heard tonight. They're continuing. So agenda item H, 1600 Shawshene Street will be continued. Agenda item I, 1600 Shawshene Street 2 as well will be continued. Agenda item J, 1167, 1177, 1187 Main Street will be continued to January 8th as well. Agenda item K, 1438 Main Street will be continued to January 8th as well. Another item on the agenda, agenda item M, 1879 Main Street will be continued to January 8th. And the last item, agenda item N, 402 Main Street will be continued till February 26th, 24, for one of our future meetings. So if you're here for one of those, you don't have to stay because we will not be discussing any of those agenda items tonight. So, but you're welcome to stay if you like, but they won't be heard tonight. So, all right, moving on to agenda item A, approval of minutes. We have none, so we'll go to agenda item B, committee reports. Anybody have any committee reports?
All set, Mr. Chairman.
All set?
All set, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to agenda item B2, town planners report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of quick items. We have no new scheduled public hearings for our January 8th meeting, so it will be all continued hearings from this meeting. Second item, want to note that I have included in the packets an article about a significant topic that concerns not only our community but the region overall. And it is called The History of Housing Underproduction in the U.S., and it highlights the history of housing production in the United States, and it references topics such as American urbanization, how the Great Depression affected early housing production, and the history of rent control. No direct action is required as a result of this item, of course, but I wanted to give this to the board to have as a resource when it considers future housing development, whether it's adaptive reuse or new construction. And just one more item that was actually added as a later, the Tewksbury Conservation Commission is going to be hosting a feedback session on proposed changes to the wetland protection bylaw on Thursday, January 18th from 5:30 to 7 p.m., and that'll be held virtually. I left you folks a flyer for that, and that should be distributed through some of our local media, and it'll be put on the town website as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I had a couple of questions, and
Please.
One was the MBTA zoning has been submitted to the state, correct?
We submitted one district for a pre-adoption review by the state, yes, on November 30th, to ensure that it would meet compliance should it make it to town meeting. The idea there being that we don't want to bring something to town meeting, have it possibly get through, and then only find out that we're just going to have to go back to town meeting again to fix it.
Sure, okay. So that's just going to be in limbo until the state comes about and decides what they're going to do and where they're going to put things or whatever, right?
So I submitted November 30th. They confirmed with me just last week that the application was complete, which didn't know I was getting that cursory review, but that was a relief. And then they said that they're going to work on the review, and I expect it back within the prescribed 90 days that they indicated that they need for the review.
Good. Just one more question. What is happening with Lee Street? Anything?
Sure. So the building commission and the assistant town manager walked through with the property owner. I may have mentioned that at a previous meeting, and they are working on updating some of the plans and the permits at this point. So
Nothing new other than that, right?
nope, just that.
Okay, okay, thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item C, 11 Sunset Circle. Anybody here for that? Please come to the podium, give us your name and address, and the floor is yours.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, would you like to request if someone wants to waive the reading of the public hearing?
Yes. So I'd like to make a motion to request a waiving the public reading.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Sit there.
Go.
Yeah.
My name is Joseph Carey, 11 Sunset Circle.
That mic's not.
Yes, hello, my name is Joseph Carey, 11 Sunset Circle.
Okay. And you are here to,
Yeah, we're here to, for application for a family suite.
okay. Anything else?
No,
No? The plans are all set. I've seen the plans submitted, so...
Yep, they have been submitted to the board and to the building department.
Okay, all right. We'll start with Mr. Champa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I saw one note that there's I'm not sure if you're aware of it or not, sorry if this is the first you're hearing of it, but access to the family suite is now being done through an existing bedroom, and I believe that is not allowed. Do you have a plan for that?
I haven't amended anything. We did speak with Alex on this, and they said for going through the board, we have to present to you guys, and then I'd work out something with the building department on that when we go to clarify everything.
Okay. Other than that, I mean, the addition looks really nice, balances out the existing house and the other side structure very well. And I love seeing family suites with, you know, your family being able to stay home. And so other than that, I have no questions and very much like seeing projects like this.
All right,
Okay.
great. Thank
Mr.
you.
Duffy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had the same, noticed the same thing, and, you know, it looks to me like that there should be a way to get a hallway into the existing house, Mr. Carey, and I don't foresee that being a problem, and I'm okay to, you know, move forward with you know, with that contingency that once the applicant works things out with building department, that we would approve that accessory use dwelling.
Thank you.
All right?
All right, all set?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Lazat?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, likewise, just same questions about the common entryway. Outside of that, the plans look great. I'm generally in support of these accessory dwelling units, and, you know, I think it looks like a good plan here. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Couple of questions, Mr. Carey. You have sewer at the building, at the house?
Excuse me?
Do you have sewer?
Yes, I do, yep.
Okay, all right. How about the total square footage?
The total square footage is just under 800 square feet on the family suite.
Okay.
Yep.
I ask you that just for the record, so we
Okay.
have it on record that
Yep.
you're saying X number of square feet, and you do have sewer. So I do also agree with your intent for a family suite. I'm all in favor of the family suite. It helps keep the family together. It's a great idea and great to do for your family. Again, like we spoke about earlier, we approve the plans here, all right? The building inspector will be the hands-on person on the ground.
Yep.
So any variations of what, like you're discussing, will be between you and him as well. So,
And any of those changes are going to be made within the footprint.
Yep.
So we're not expanding that footprint
Right.
that you guys see on the plans right now.
yeah,
So that will be made inside of that footprint that you guys see that's been submitted.
okay, great. All right. I have no further questions. Being a public hearing, anybody in the audience have any questions, comments, or concerns about 11 Sunset Circle Family Suite? Seeing nobody rise, what's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Second?
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great. Make a motion to close the public hearing as discussed. And what's the pleasure? You have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the accessory dwelling unit at 11 Sunset Circle with the caveat that the access to the existing house is worked out with building department.
Great. Awesome.
Second.
You have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chairman votes aye as well, and good luck. All
Yep.
set.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item D, 770 Main Street, Butler School LLC, on behalf of the Kachafi family. I'll take a motion to waive the public hearing.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. How you doing? For the record, just your name and address, and move on.
Ben Osgood, Ranger Engineering Group. We're from Salem, New Hampshire,
Okay?
here for 770 Main Street. You may recall, we were here earlier this year. We had a proposal to construct a daycare facility on this lot, 770 Main Street. It's existing 45,000 square foot property that has a single-family dwelling. It's generally open with lawn, slopes from the street back a couple of feet in elevation to the rear of the lot. The previous submittal was withdrawn. The end-user tenant withdrew from the agreement that they had to lease the property. So they found another tenant, and we're back in front of the board looking for approval. So what the proposal this time is a 15,000 square foot, two-story daycare facility. It's a national company. I don't know that I'm allowed to divulge exactly who it is, but they have a standard footprint. They build these in many locations across the country, and they think Tewksbury is a great location for their facility. As I said, it's a 15,000 square foot, two-story building. It sits back from the road. The previous submittal was a 10,000 square foot, single-story. So this is a smaller building footprint, which has allowed us to push it back from the road, pull it in from the property lines a bit. We've actually expanded the parking lot, the parking aisles. We provide 40 spaces. 50 are required under the bylaw, but the end user said they only need about 35. And we have a traffic memo which was submitted today, which says the average parking space demand is about 36, 37 spaces. So we're asking the board to waive the number of spaces. We do have 5 spaces in reserve, which would be available to build in the future if the need ever arose. So when we made the parking lot bigger, we have a larger landscape island in the middle of the parking lot. Kind of colored up a plan there. You can see it's the green area in the middle. The aisles, as I said, are wider than normal, so we can have a 4-foot striped access way from all the parking spaces that are on the exterior of the parking lot to the front of the building. The building is on municipal water, municipal sewer. It would be fully fire sprinklered with alarm systems. We do have a hydrant located right in the center island, within 100 feet of the fire department connection. We submitted turning plans with the application that shows that the fire department can get in and make the turns without clipping curbs and islands and so forth. And the entranceway is designed to be directly across from Erlin Ave. Presently, it's a little bit, I guess, southeast of that right now, but we're moving it to be directly across from Erlin Ave so that it provides a 4-way intersection and will function properly. The traffic memo mentions that there's over 1,000 feet of sight distance on this driveway. This is a very straight area on 38, and it's 1,000 feet, maybe even more. The stormwater is handled by underground stormwater detention structures. They're concrete structures. They infiltrate into the sand and gravel below. There's one under the parking lot, one at the rear of the building. The stormwater is discharged out the back of the property. It'll be into a level spreader, so it spreads out and mimics the conditions that are there today. We do have a huge reductions in volume of flow running off-site because we do infiltrate the water into the ground, so we're reducing volume and rates of runoff coming off of the site. We provide landscaping around the perimeter. There's a landscape plan that does meet all the requirements of the submittal. I know you're really busy on the agenda tonight. I don't know if you want me to go through the waivers. They're in my letter, the different items. I mean, I can do that.
You can go over them a little bit while we're here, and just so we're all familiar with the same waivers.
As I mentioned, Section 6.1.3 requires 1 space per 300 square feet of daycare use. Comes out to 50 spaces. As I said, the end user feels they only need 35. We're providing 40. The Section 6.1.10.b states that entrance and exit driveways shall be designed and located with the maximum practical distance from any intersection to minimize traffic conflicts. The proposal is to place the driveway just opposite Erlin Ave in order to make the four-way intersection. 6.1.11c states that no parking space may be located within 10 feet of any lot line. On our plan, we have a 5-foot buffer on the adjoining property lines. As you may remember, the property to the left is the Tewksbury Federal Credit Union, and there was a wall constructed along their property line when they did their construction, so we're filling up to that and parking 5 feet from our property line, just adjacent to their spaces that are 5 feet from the property line. On the opposite side, we're constructing a wall. We're holding it a foot off of the property line, but our spaces are 5 feet from the property line. Section 6.114 states that there must be a loading area, must be marked on the plan. We don't need a loading area for daycare use. 6.2.10H states that an application considered for site plan review must submit a master signage plan. At this point in time, we don't have a signage plan, so we'd like to make it, they'd have to come back when they have their master signage plan. So those are the waivers we're looking for. We did have Beta has done an engineering review. I'm sure everyone's read through that, but there are a couple of things I just wanted to touch on. One was the grading along the property lines. We have adjusted the grading. It was their general comment, G1 and G2. We're going to make that more clear. All the water is flowing into our stormwater system, so we will put spot grades and adjust the grading to make sure that gets taken care of. And then the other issue that I just wanted to mention is they suggested making the aisleways and the parking lots narrower. We designed them that way because when we were here before, the board wanted to see more room, and we were worried about having the narrow aisles with children getting out of the cars and people having to walk in. So we've made the aisles wider, provided the crosswalks or the walking lanes around the edge of the parking lot. So that's all I have. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Sure, thank you very much. Mr. Duffy, any questions and comments?
Quick question, was there something that the fire department wanted to review as far as the granite curbing on the center island there? Could you explain that a little bit?
Yes, the
The
fire
board-
department has a standard condition where before the curbing is installed, that they bring their truck to the site, and they make sure that the truck will go through the site without hitting a curb. And I guess they make adjustments at that point if it can't get through the site.
Okay. And I know that we, on your previous application, that I think most of the board, and speaking for myself, we didn't have a problem with the 5-foot setback from the lot line because it was similar to next door. So I think I'm okay with that one. And I guess generally, that's, show me on the plan, or tell me on the plan, where the 5 reserved parking spaces would be.
So they are at the bottom of the plan on the left and right.
Okay. Oh, okay, I see. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so if the need ever arose, that area could be paved?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And we have included those areas in our stormwater report, so we've designed the drainage to accommodate additional pavement if it's needed.
Okay. Okay. That's a big building, 15,000 square feet. How many, I know last time, last application with the one-story building, you were looking at I don't know, 89 or 100.
I think there was 150-something students on the last building. This one, although it's bigger, it's only 170,
Okay.
so,
Was that 170?
170, right. And they range from infants to preschoolers.
Okay, and Mr. Chairman, I really haven't, I know we got a traffic survey, but I haven't really had a chance to review it. We just got it today.
Right.
So,
So just for the board's We have to address all the comments. I don't, we're going to ask for a continuance at, to make sure we can take care of all this. I know it's not going to be done tonight.
And I think that's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Duffy.
Thank
Mr. Lazat?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned that the building footprint is standardized. Is the lot standardized as well? Is this like a pattern that y'all have elsewhere?
They pick a lot where they can, that they feel is appropriate. So they've looked at the site and they feel it's appropriate.
I actually mean the parking lot, like
Oh, the
kind of how
parking
traffic
lot?
flows around it, yeah.
Parking lot is, we design it differently for each site.
Okay.
So that's what works on this site.
And am I reading this correct, that the crosswalk is on the inside of the spaces?
Yes, so you get out of the car and you'll be able to walk through the parking lot. It's just striped off. Those are actually stripes that would appear on the plan to delineate that walking area.
Okay. It just kind of seems to me that you might have people backing up kind of right into your crosswalk out of the
Right.
spaces.
Right.
Have you considered potentially having the crosswalk on kind of the perimeter of the parking spaces?
We can look at that. It just makes the aisleways a little bit narrower, and we were looking to
Right.
provide more,
Yeah,
more
it kind of looks
room.
like in that case, you would still be able to have the 24-foot
Right.
aisle, and then you would, instead of a 5-foot waiver, you'd be asking for a, half-foot waiver
Yep.
on the parking space from the lot lines. You might lose a couple spaces across the top, but you have some reserve
Right.
in the back here. And then I think my only other question here, are there peak traffic times? Is this like 9 o'clock in the morning, there's a flood of traffic, or is it kind of evenly spaced throughout the
So
day?
and we're going to provide a letter too from the end user. They just haven't supplied that or the building elevations yet. What they tell me is they start around 6 in the morning, and it's pretty even until around 9. So it's just kind of constant for those 3 hours. There are people that come during the middle of the day, pick up kids who are there for half a day, and then same thing in the afternoon, anytime 3 to 6.
Cool. I think that's all my questions for now.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Champa?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I was a little puzzled myself about the pedestrian walkway being right behind all the vehicles, which would be potentially backing out. I know more modern cars might have backup cameras or safety cameras, but, my concern would be, toddlers that get away from mom or dad and, might run off a little. So I think that would be something that, if you could look at that and maybe find something that, could minimize that sort of hazard. I'd like to see what you could come up with there.
Okay.
I just, how many years of being at the malls and Market Basket, and even me, just as a grown-up, you're walking, just
Oh, I
pushing a
know.
cart, and a car just starts backing right out.
Yep.
So, I'm not entirely sure that would be the safest option for this. Other than that, I have no problems with the waivers as far as creating the intersection with Earlin Avenue. The justification for parking seems fine, and obviously we'll review the traffic once we've had adequate time.
Right.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Champa. So I have a couple of questions here. I know we'll be continuing this hearing until our next meeting, but my biggest concern is with the number of students you have at the site. 180 students is a lot of students in a 1-acre lot. My second biggest concern is the safety. If you recall at the last meeting, I think I brought up the fact that I wasn't comfortable with the walkway being in the middle of the parking lot. I think I recommended you put sidewalks on both sides, so when they come out of the car, they could walk to the sidewalk, walk up.
Yeah.
Okay,
Your
so-
memory is better than mine.
Oh, we spent a lot of
definitely
time
I'm-
on this, if
I'm
you
hearing
remember.
that.
So, but, so those are my two major concerns right now. Traffic is another one, with 180 students coming in, and people coming in and out of that driveway, coming onto Main Street, I think is a lot, you know? So I haven't looked at the traffic study, I know we got it this afternoon, but I know it's a lot of stops and starts coming in and out of their place, but my other concern is the fact that with the daycare, are the majority of students going to be being dropped off, or do you think they're going to park their cars and walk in?
The majority's, well,
Parents.
they will drop them off, but they said most of the parents will walk their kids into the front
Right.
door, and then they'll walk back to their car.
Right.
So they will park,
So they'll park,
Get
walk
out.
up, and then drop the kids and
Right.
get back in.
right,
And you know, parents these days are in a rush all the time. So, I mean,
Yep.
safety in that parking lot is my utmost concern.
Right.
The last thing I want to be as a planning board member is approving something with safety and someone gets hurt, backing out of that parking lot and hitting a kid that's walking, even though it's striped. So, I mean, I think you need to change your plans.
we can look at moving the side, putting a
You know,
sidewalk in front of it
I think
instead.
the parking on the right side and left side, if people are parking there, you make sure they're aware that you have to walk the sidewalk and get in and drop your child off. I mean, sure, the middle section may be a different issue,
Mm-hmm.
but they have to be aware of that as well. If they can't park on the sides, then they can park in the middle, and then they're on their own. But, so those are my biggest concerns. I know we'll be coming back on a number of these other outstanding issues. So with that, I'll,
Mr. Chairman, could I just add to your comment about the middle parking area? You know, that should also have a very well-marked crosswalk between those parking spaces in the front entrance as well.
Yeah.
You know, to your point, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
so the more we put into this planning process, I think is the best for the students at Tewksbury and the mothers and fathers at Tewksbury that are dropping off on their way to work or whatever they have to do, so, but, so I'm all set for now, but being a public hearing, I'll open it up to the audience. Anybody in the audience have any questions, comments, or concerns about 770 Main Street as discussed tonight? Nobody? Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to continue this hearing
Okay,
to our January 8th meeting.
okay. Do I have a
Seconded.
second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye as well. How about 7:25
Okay.
on the 8th of January? All right. Okay, all set.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is 345 Main Street, agenda item E. Anybody here for 345 Main? We can make a motion to waive the public reading.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye as well.
Sorry, I was late with that. That was aye. Unanimous.
All right, great, thank you.
Good
Evening.
evening, Mr. Chair. Mike Corey of Madoff and Corey, counsel to the applicant.
Okay.
The applicant is 345, Nilcan 345, Inc. Yashika,
Excuse me, sir,
Oh,
your
I'm
mic's
sorry.
not on.
oh, it's not.
Yeah, so if you could start again, it'd be great.
Okay, great. I'm Mike Corey of Madoff and Corey, counsel to the applicant. The applicant is Nilcan 345, Inc. The president is Yashika Patel. She is under the weather. Her husband and business partner is here in her place. The applicant is part of the Nilcan Retail Group. They operate a number of higher-end liquor stores and smoke shops in New England. And we applied on November 16th to this board for a special permit under Section 3.5 of your bylaw and Appendix A, Section A4C, for authority for a special permit to operate a liquor store at 345 Main Street, Building B, Units 1 and 2, and that's part of the Wamisit Place Shopping Center, which property sits in the general business district as designated by your bylaw and your zoning map. The store is a 3,136 square foot retail space. The applicant, through another council, obtained approval for a liquor license from your, I believe, select board to operate at this location. On further review, we found that under the zoning requirements, we had to get a special permit from your board as well. So we applied in November. The actual liquor license was originally issued to 2030 Ocean Street LLC in March of 2022, and our client purchased the liquor license, the store to the extent it existed, and also the lease rights from Wamisit Place LLC earlier this year, subject to our filing this application. We submit that a special permit under your bylaw and under mass law is appropriate where the adverse effects of any requested relief are outweighed by the benefits to be presented to the town, its residents, and the business community. We submit that the benefits are here, and we don't see a downside to it. The space that the applicant would occupy is the one remaining vacant space in Building B in the Wamisit Place shopping center. The store will be the only liquor retailer in the shopping center, but there are 3 others within a 2-mile radius of the location, so this is not an unusual or frowned on use of the property within the general business district. It'll allow for new product and services at the shopping center to the benefit of the neighborhood and other travelers who may come there. The store is high-end in design and aesthetics, and its presentation will improve the neighborhood, the shopping center generally. There should be, for a 3,100 square foot store, it's a relatively small store, traffic impact will be minimal. And Ms. Lauder submitted in a memo to this board, copying us, that she confirmed that parking was sufficient under the parking requirements. Certainly no drainage, utilities, or roadway implications would arise. Everything is provided. Section 5 of your bylaw reports that the general business district is intended to support a variety of stores and restaurants serving local and regional customers. We're submitting that granting the permit would further serve that specific purpose as noted in your bylaw. Finally, we submit that the store would complete the occupancy of that section of the shopping center, increase revenues, taxes, commercial real estate values, and provide employment for area folks. And then finally, there's no damage to the environment. The building is established, and there won't be any hazardous waste at all implicated. For those reasons, Mr. Chair, we request that the board grant a special permit.
Okay, all set?
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Lazat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to confirm, no external modifications to the building at all?
No.
No? And I saw y'all withdrew the request for the sign special
I'm sorry, I
permit.
should have mentioned that. There was an issue with the landlord regarding the signage. We are in negotiations, and we believe we finalized an agreement on signage with the landlord that would be within your requirements of the bylaw. So hopefully we don't have to come to you.
So your intention is to have a
Do
conforming sign?
exactly, yes,
Okay.
have it fully conforming within the limits that the town is requesting.
Right. And yeah, and other than that, looks like there's plenty of parking here, and I have no further questions.
Okay, great. Mr. Duffy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking at, on part of the submission, it says something about a smoke shop retail fit-up.
Yep. Yes, what we've gotten from the Board of Health, an approval for ancillary smoke shop materials for sale at the store. That permit will be finalized and issued once the build-out is complete and the inspection is done.
But this is not a smoke shop. This will be a city wine and spirits. We just gonna have, we'll be able to carry the same products that most retailers do in liquor stores, behind the counter tobacco and vaporizers. Nothing more than that.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Champa?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I guess similar to follow the thread that Mr. Duffy kind of pulled on was, we saw the email from the landlord
Yeah.
that this space is tenanted for a liquor store for
Yep.
off-premises consumption
Right.
only.
Right.
So the references to smoke shop, is that
It's
also
removed.
within the landlord's purview? Have you cleared that with them?
Yes.
We have. It's fully resolved. And I can submit to the board, if you like, a second amendment to the lease that the landlord and we have entered into. But there is an agreement, and the smoking products to be offered at the store will be very limited, and like most liquor stores, it would be an ancillary product offering.
Okay. Other than that, I had no other questions about this. Again, traffic, it's a large shopping plaza, a lot of empty space, so it'd be nice to get some cars in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have just a couple of questions. So
Sure.
are you looking for two signs or one sign?
One.
The one on the building?
One on the building, yes.
Nothing out front on Main
No.
Street?
I don't think there's a submission for any pylons at all. We're going to be putting our signage on the existing pylon, but our main signage is what we applied for.
Okay, but on the building, not on the big...
On the building, on the building.
Not on the Main Street,
No,
large sign.
no pylon sign. We did not submit that.
okay? All right.
Yep.
So I'm assuming it's a regular liquor store,
Yep.
you'll have lottery there?
We would try not to, but, I'm not a fan of lottery,
Okay,
personally.
that's unusual, because
That's a-
most liquor
that's a-
stores
yeah,
have
that's a
lottery with
personal
scratch tickets
situation.
and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
how about security? You're going to be having cameras and so forth on
Yep.
site and all that?
We have our own IT
I mean, you're
team.
tucked away in the corner there. I mean,
Yeah.
I know the location pretty well. I've been there a number of times, and I frequent the credit union right there. So,
Yeah.
so as far as the sign goes, are you going to be submitting something to us as far as?
It's already, it was just a general sign permit. The sign company submitted it with the sign, is it building department?
Yes, the building
Yeah.
department.
The sign department, and it follows the rules and regulations of what is permitted, so there's no special permit for that whatsoever.
Okay,
Originally, Mr. Chair, we were looking for something slightly larger than what the bylaw permitted, and
Yeah.
that, we could get that if we presented the case correctly by special permit, but that's not necessary anymore since we're
okay.
now meeting the
right, good.
dimensional requirements.
So with that, I'm all set. I'll open it up to the audience. Anybody in the audience have any questions, comments, concern about 345 Main Street? No? No one rising? Okay. So, Ms. Lauder, can we approve this conditionally with the sign coming in?
So what we can do is, as the applicant mentioned, they did submit a compliant sign design to the building department, so there's no discretionary approval required. The two motions that we would be looking for from you folks tonight would be to accept the motion to withdraw, the request to withdraw, the signed special permit application, so that's kind of cleaned up, and then, if you so wish, to approve the use special permit for the retail alcohol store.
Okay, oh, good. So, what's the pleasure of the board? Anybody, any comments?
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye as well.
I'd like to make a motion to approve their request to withdraw the special sign permit.
Okay, all in favor?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye as well. All right,
And I'd like to make a motion to approve their use permit for the off-premise liquor store at 345 Main Street.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Chairman votes aye as well, and all set. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good
Well,
luck.
would the board be issuing the order, or would you prefer if I drafted it?
I do it.
Oh, okay, great.
I'll be in touch.
Thank you very much. That's it.
Don't
Thank
steal her
you.
thunder. She's really good at it.
She's the best.
Let her do her thing.
Thank you very much.
So much.
All right, moving on to agenda item F, 1625 Andover Street, site plan review, land disturbance permit. I'd like to make a motion to waive the public reading.
So moved.
Have a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye as well. All set. Can you get a second, gentlemen, for the record, your name? Or names?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is David Plunkett. I'm representing the applicant, being the Daily Group LLC and 1625 Andover Street LLC. With me at the table tonight is Dean Graffio from Route 133 Cannabis LLC. Also, we have Matt Hammer, who is of Landplex, who is the site engineer. And we also have here tonight Kim Azavatia, and excuse me if close enough, I'm sorry, I apologize for the mispronunciation, the traffic engineer. Also in the audience tonight with us are both David Daly and Jonathan Miller from the Daly Group. Mr. Chairman, what we have here tonight is probably not so new of a concept for the board anymore, but it's a site plan review for a proposed use of cannabis use under the bylaws that have been adopted by the town of Tewksbury. Just as a little overview of the site, this is the Route 133 area that was for years known as the Triangle. And what was the town going to do with the triangle? How would they utilize it properly? And the understanding that the residential use that was there before, and none of the residents wanted it anymore because it didn't make any sense in that location, and the town has responded. The town has responded by changing the underlying zoning. And luckily for the town, I know dealing for many years, I think it was 9 years, I was on the Economic Development Committee as the chairman. Idea of the town is to draw in developers. And the hope of the town is to get grade A developers. What the town has succeeded in this Route 133 triangle area is that they have the Daly Group. And at this point, there have been 4 lots that have been permitted, and they have completed 3 out of the 4. And, there's no saying the proof is in the pudding, and all you have to do is look at what they did with their 3 completed lots. Top-grade development, the type of development that the town always hopes to attract to the town. So we have a situation with this last parcel at 1625 Andover Street. This is a fully permitted parcel. They have a site plan special permit that was issued. It was issued and recorded back in June of 2020. It's still a viable special permit. It was a restaurant that was going in there, still in force and effect, and as everyone knows, June of 2020 was just after the shutdown of our country, not just our local area, but the country in general. So what's happened is that there has been a recent extension of that special permit, so it's still in full force and effect. And being in full force and effect, it's protected by the grandfather provisions of Chapter 48, Section 6. So it's a grandfathered use that still have the ability to build and develop and permitted as per the grant that is now of record and allowed by the board. So this was a site that was fully vetted relative to the intended use, the traffic, and everything else associated with it. Subsequent to the allowance of the special permit, the town, chose to add to their list of allowed uses, and that would be cannabis use. And so this is now an accepted use under our town bylaws. So under the bylaw, we're to come to the planning board for site plan review and go before the select board for approval of the permit. So that's something separate and apart, which will be handled by the select board. So what we're here tonight is on this site, which is a permitted site for site plan review. Special permit has already been granted, still in force in effect. So basically, the use is changing in accordance with an allowed use under the revised bylaw. Matt Hammer is going to go through the site plan and show you, how it would be utilized for this intended use. The footprint of the building isn't changing. The footprint of the layout of the driveways aren't changing. Of the parking area aren't changing. And the impact of the traffic associated with the marijuana use or cannabis use is not, much of a significant difference from that use that was already vetted under the special permit granted for the site, for the restaurant. We have the letter from Mrs. Lauder regarding her review of the site. Matt is going to address all the issues in that letter. There is only one issue that we would take exception with relative to it not being within the the parameter of review by the planning board, and that would be a setback which was allowed and approved in the 2020 special permit that was granted. The analysis as presented by the planning director indicates that the applicant would have to go to the ZBA and get a variance from that, because this would be something that would not be within the purview of the planning board as the zoning bylaws exist today. We take exception with that analysis. We don't think it's correct. I have a letter, Mr. Chairman, if I could, hand out for review by the board, and spells out the rationale of our objection to that analysis, if I may.
Thank you.
Mr. Plunkett, thank you for the letter, but we don't have time to read this while we're here at the hearing, so.
Right.
Okay.
I'm just going to
All right.
review some salient points, Mr. Chairman, and
Yep.
relative to, what the underlying basis is that we're a protected special permit under, Chapter 48, Section 6. There's a reason for that. It's so that you're not subject to any change in the zoning bylaws. The analysis that's proposed that we'd have to go to the ZBA for a separate hearing, separate appeal period and everything else flies in the face of the protection of under 48 Section 6. It also wouldn't make sense relative to the position of the town to always be upgrading and changing the uses. Allowed uses, unless you're allowed, your proposed use, if it's not allowed, you're disallowed. So the town always has to upgrade and make reference to things, congregate living, cell towers, and the marijuana bylaws. So to suggest that anytime there's a change of usage, the structure in which you're going to be located has to go through a separate review for setbacks and things of that sort, even if it's grandfathered, flies in the face of the protection of 48 Section 6. In addition, within the zoning bylaw itself, and I make reference to the particular section, where it makes reference to encouraging location in existing buildings. So that in and of itself would indicate that it's not a situation that you wouldn't be cognizant of the grandfathered provisions for legally, existing non-conforming uses. Otherwise, you undercut significantly the whole purpose of changing usage, and it would also run contrary to that particular provision of the zoning bylaw. So at the very least, Mr. Chairman, if the board is not comfortable making the determination independently, we would request that, town council be involved for this analysis. At this point, what I'd like to do, Mr. Chairman, is turn it over to Mr. Hammer and ask him to go through the site plan and review, the application of the site is approved to the usage for marijuana usage.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board, Matt Hammer, Lamplex Engineering, 10 George Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. If everyone doesn't know where the property is, this is Andover Street here. There's an existing access drive, which the planning board approved, that brings you through this property to the Lowell 5, which is to the rear of the property. This subject property here right now is vacant. It's adjacent to a tellerless drive-through, which is used by Lowell 5. And then there's also an existing daycare here. Previously approved through the special permit that Attorney Plunkett mentioned is a proposed access drive here that brings you into a parking area here, as well as here. Extending up is additional parking, as well as another access drive here to the access drive, which goes through the site here. In orange here on this plan is the proposed building. Again, it's the same as the building that was approved before, which is a 4,500 square foot ground level building here, of which the marijuana retail establishment will occupy the ground level, and then on the second floor, there'll be an additional office space. There's a walkway in front of the building. There's a loading bay area here. There's cross-hatching identifiers within the parking area that was part of the original approval, as well as access to the existing sidewalk infrastructure along Andover Street. There's also some proposed walls that were part of the original proposal, which was to coincide with the walls that you see out there today, to have a wall system that is adjacent to Andover Street. The parking requirement for this use is 29 spaces. We're proposing 44. And there's handicap spaces out in front of the building, some accent lighting on the outside of the building here and along the loading bay area. Some individual light bases, light poles for the parking area. And there was a proposed patio outside the building, which we're going to maintain that patio area as well. And that's my initial presentation. The site is serviced by full stormwater compliance for drainage, sewer and water connections, and that was part of the original approved project that was a couple years ago for that. And then I'm going to have Kim Hazavardi, our traffic engineer, just go over the updated traffic information relevant to the traffic assessment, which was previously submitted as well.
Okay.
Good evening, I'm Ken Hazavardian, traffic engineer at Tech LLC out of Salem, New Hampshire. And I prepared an updated memorandum that essentially compares what is proposed now with what was already approved by the town. What was previously approved was a fine dining restaurant with a floor area of 4,500 square feet. What's under consideration now is a marijuana dispensary with a floor area of about 4,500 square feet, plus office floor area of about 1,600 square feet. Our analysis centered on trip generation and a comparison of previously approved versus what's proposed now. And if you look at Table 1 in the analysis, that summarizes the numbers. If you look at the fine dining restaurant, and I'm going to concentrate on the peak hours, that generated 35 trips during the PM peak hour on a weekday, and on the Saturday site peak hour, 48 trips. By going to the marijuana dispensary plus office, the numbers go up to 88 during the weekday PM peak hour and 132 during the Saturday site peak hour. The differences are for the weekday PM peak hour, 53 vehicle trips, total of in and out. That's 20 in and 33 out. And for the Saturday site peak hour, 84 vehicle trips. That's 38 trips in and 46 trips out. Now, a professional guideline that we apply frequently is the 100 vehicle trip guideline. If a site generates less than 100 vehicle trips in or 100 vehicle trips out compared to what was there before or was already permitted, we generally presume that the project is not going to have a major traffic impact, and the memorandum is the extent of our analysis. Now, a couple of things about that. Let me talk a little bit about how that traffic would probably affect the area. If you look at those 53 vehicle trips in the weekday PM peak hour and the 84 vehicle trips in the Saturday site peak hour, those trips break up by orientation. Some of the trips will be oriented toward the 495 direction. Some of the trips will be oriented the other way, toward north. And when you look at that split, the numbers become less. We're not talking 100, we're not talking less than 100, we're talking roughly half, a smaller number. So that indicates no significant impact to the signalized intersections located some distance east or west of the site. If you look at the site driveway, without running any numbers, I can tell you how that site driveway is going to operate. The left turns in are going to operate at a high level of service, low delays, based on my experience with the corridor and running these analyses over the years. The right turns out will operate with low to moderate delays. The left turns out will operate with high delays. And that's because, and that's during peak times. During off-peak times, it would be a lower level of delay. Why is that? Because Andover Street is an arterial street. During peak times, it carries good traffic volumes. And traffic coming out of a site driveway, waiting to turn left against all those traffic volumes coming from the left and the right, has to wait. You have to wait on the site, and that waiting is on the driveway, not on the public road. And that's normal operation along an arterial street. Let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to mention. Oh, the left turn lane in front of the site, there's an adjacent unsignalized intersection as you head toward the west with another left turn. I looked at another traffic study of the area, and that adjacent, when I say adjacent, it's about 200 feet down the road, intersection has a good level of service shown for that left turn with minimal queuing on Andover Street. What I'm saying is the numbers don't show any queue spillback from that more westerly intersection toward our driveway 200 feet in advance. So that's the summary of my analysis, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about that.
Excuse me, Matt Hammer, Landplex Engineering. I just wanted to also, I wanted to show you the elevation of the site. We have a rendered, artistic rendering. This would be looking at the site, the front entrance, and this is the top area here where that office space brings in light with these windows here. Windows along the ground level with a stone facade on the first 4 feet of the bottom. This is another perspective view here. This is the rear of the building shown here. And these are all of the 4 elevations: the front, the rear, the right side, and the left side. This is the floor plan here of the cannabis retail space here. This is the entry vestibule coming into this retail facility with a reception area, the retail space, and this is the exit vestibule leaving the facility. In the rear is bathroom facilities for the employees. There's also a guest bathroom facility as well. Storage area here, secure storage, as well as a cash room and a manager's room. This is also the employee entry, of which the product is brought in from the loading bay area, which is surrounded by fencing. And that's this area here. On the second floor, there's an office area, light storage, and then there's an area up on top of the retail area for equipment for all the HVAC systems. And I can answer any questions. I can put it over to Attorney Plunkett as well.
You guys all set? Okay. Open it up to members of the board. Mr. Champa, questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So a few things. On the traffic, I know you're just in an area where there's a yellow line that starts to open up, indicating that it kind of indicates do not cross because it's too wide. Do you foresee that as a problem? Speaking back there to you, do you see that as a problem, that might be a more difficult than normal left turn for these customers than maybe from one of the other establishments where the road is narrower?
I don't see that as a problem. On the other hand, I don't see it as being much of a problem to improve. For example, Matt, do we have any kind of a graphic that shows that? Okay. All that would need to be done is there's a gradual taper that adds a left turn lane that extends essentially from this point all the way to North Street. And if that gentle taper were made a little bit more pronounced, then by the time you got to the proposed driveway, it would be a standard double yellow center line, like you see at a typical intersection.
Okay, and my concern there isn't so much traffic volume or delays as much as it is safety. So that's part of what I'm getting at there is just want to make sure that the customers of the cannabis shop, I know we had to put we've had to put traffic lights in a number of places where we've had challenging intersections and whatnot, and we just want to make sure if people are coming in and out of that driveway, that yellow line is not going to create more of a challenge for them. And then, did you foresee or incorporate any calculations that if you go to that rear driveway, that does bring you out to International Place for access? Is that incorporated in your traffic analysis?
We have, but we've also been requested by Lowell 5 on the exit here to have a sign that says no left turn. So they've requested that we encourage by signage people exiting the site here to not take a left-hand turn and to head back to Andover Street.
Okay, that was going to be my follow-up question, so we're on it as far as if you were, if your study incorporated people going through the rear access, how did the neighbors feel about that? So now we know.
And we have reached out and met with Lowell 5 in that regard.
You have or haven't?
We have.
Okay.
Yep.
Just out of curiosity, why keep the patio? There's no smoking allowed on the premises, correct?
Well, one of the reasons is that we still need to go to the select board as well. So we didn't want to change the site in any way that would affect the current special permit and the permit that we still need to get from the select board. So the use of that space, can be used by employees of the facility. But that's why we left it initially, was to not change the site from the original approval.
Okay, because, that would absolutely be my number one concern, would be that someone sees that. We all think of a patio as a place where I just, visited this location, and now here's a nice place to hang out for a little while and relax and whatnot. Quite frankly, Wamisit does quite well with their patio.
But in terms of the oversight, for safety purposes, there is no consumption of the product by the buyers at the location. So they will not be able to utilize, no customer could utilize that area for consumption of the product because it's not allowed, and it's highly regulated, and that's one of the key things that is clear during the permitting, during the process of getting the permit going before the select board, that no consumption on site, period.
Right, so I'm aware of that. Way more aware than I ever thought I would need to be. My question is, how are you going to prevent people from that? How would it be monitored? What kind of security?
So what we can do is we can have the patio removed if necessary.
Okay. That would work too. And I know the opening monologue, Mr. Plunkett, was all about the setback and all of that. So, I don't know if we're able to approve a plan that does not meet the current setback requirements. So I'm not sure if that's a discussion that we can move forward on tonight, or if that's going to be an obstacle for this proceeding.
It's site plan review, not site plan special permit, and site plan special permit in which it was duly waived is a special permit that's still in force and effect, so that would be our position.
Ms. Lauder, have a comment?
So, based on the analysis provided in the memo that Attorney Plunkett referenced, myself, the building commissioner, and the assistant town manager are in agreement of this analysis, so we'll have to discuss with town council Attorney Plunkett's position. So I don't have any further feedback this evening, having just
Figured
received
that was
this. Yeah.
All right, that's all
All
I
set?
have for tonight.
Mr. Duffy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just preface my comments by saying that, ordinarily, I would love to see, a development that's good for the town on odd-shaped lot like that, that probably is very difficult to, to find something to build on it, But I do have a couple of concerns here. One of them is for traffic. I almost had to laugh when I saw that the conclusion of the traffic study that said, this TAM concludes that the change development program does not result in a significant change in tabulated peak hour trip generation. So I read that first, and then I went back and looked at the numbers. And I said, okay, the fine dining restaurant was going to have daily 377 trips versus marijuana dispensary of 973 trips. And I know you put a nice spin on it there, but that's a difference of 596 trips per day, 5 days a week. And it's additional 785 trips on Saturday. That's not an inconsequential amount of changes from one use to the other. So let's just all think about that a little bit, okay? But then the other question I have is, I mean, of all the locations, potential locations for marijuana retail, is a preschool considered a school?
No.
Is that an I don't know that to be a fact or not a fact. I would have to get. Okay, you folks, I'm sure Mr. Chairman's going to give you a chance to get up to the mic.
Yeah.
So all I'm concerned about is 935 CMR 500.100, which says you can't build a retail marijuana establishment within 500 feet of a school. So I think we're going to have to get a little clarification on that. I am going to need a little clarification on that. But even aside, let's just say that it isn't, that it is okay to build it there. Like, it just doesn't seem like a real good spot to put a retail marijuana dispensary right next to a preschool, an existing preschool. And that's all I have for now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, great. Mr. Lazat?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just kind of echoing the concerns about the location with the school, very closely abutting the lot. It does not seem like a great place from my perspective to locate a dispensary. Similar questions on the traffic side. We're talking double traffic for the restaurant on weekdays and closer to 3 times on weekends. That does not seem like an insignificant change, and I would love to see a peer review of the traffic study that accounts for that. I guess kind of my questions again with kind of the daycare next door, are there any lot modifications that y'all are planning to make here that would, restrict visibility in there? Because it looks like, at least from looking at these plans, it's standing in your lot, you're just going to have a straight line of sight into the front of the daycare.
I'll let Matt go to the plan, but the intention is to utilize the lot as it's currently allowed, and that the site plan review is from the perspective that this is an allowed use at that site with site plan review and the grant of a license by the select board. So in terms of, this is an area that was allowed or determined by the process of the town in approving and passing the bylaw, that this was a site that would be included within the allowed areas of allowed use. So it's not that the applicant has come forward and said, hey, we know that the town doesn't want this here, and we'd like to have you make changes and give us waivers and variances for a use that's not allowed as determined by the town, but it's not that. This is an area that is spot where it's an allowed use as per the determination of the town in the approval of the zoning bylaw. And that's what we're here for, under that bylaw, which I believe was submitted by the Select Board. I believe they were the sponsors of that warrant article. The applicant here isn't the one that went to the town meeting and didn't go and ask to change it or anything else. We're utilizing the bylaw as approved at town meeting, as submitted by the Select Board. And that's how we're here. That's how this came about. But I'll defer to Mr. Hammer relative to any further clarification.
Mr. Lazat, so I would like to, that the site itself, the grade of the site is at an elevation that's 10 feet below where the daycare is.
Mhm.
I also want to,
That mic might
Let me
have
fix
turned
the
off.
mic. I muted it.
thanks, Mr.
start again, okay?
Hardivardi. So I just wanted to let you know that the site is 10 feet below the daycare, for one. There's also some infrastructure between the two buildings, and this is a landscaping plan that was part of the original approval, which does have landscaping that runs along the edge of the site here, and it's up in here as well. So that helps.
Is there
with the-
anything in between there? Or is it just kind of at the corner there and at the top corner?
No, it's all along this whole edge.
Okay, so that whole edge has, it's not just like a straight shot vision-wise? Okay.
Yeah, so it actually sits down from
Okay.
the daycare elevation itself.
And so then just kind of from the actual sort of retail operations part, when do you expect peak traffic to be? Are there times that are significantly busier than others? Is it evenly spaced throughout the day? I feel like we've heard both answers kind of.
Dean Graffio, 52 Pinnacle Street. So your peak hours would be 4 to 7 weekday. You get a rush in the morning too, but we can't open until 10. So that misses the drop-off for the daycare. And then weekends is, Sundays are 12 to 6. So that's kind of there's no real peak then. And then Friday, Friday's going to be, Thursday and Friday, 4 to 7, just like, in a liquor store business. That's your main hours. Saturday could be spread out in the sense that people are off, they might be going away, they might have already got it Friday. So Saturday's more like spread out, so to speak.
Yeah. All right, thank you. That's all my questions.
That's it? All right, thank you. So I have a number of questions as well. Being the fact that there's some questions about the traffic, I think we're going to be asking for a peer review of the traffic. So as we go, but we can let the board decide that. I think I would be in favor of that. But so, Mr. Plunkett, earlier you made a statement about the restaurant being very similar to the traffic of a cannabis location.
I'm saying that the traffic was vetted for that location for the restaurant use, and our traffic engineer has indicated that the change is not something that would be deemed significant relative to the location of the site in the original analysis for the restaurant.
Okay.
He went over the differences, and conclusion from the perspective of a traffic engineer is that they do not mount to a significant change relative to the capacity of that location to handle the expected traffic.
Well, I kind of disagree with his evaluation of that. I've been to the site in Lowell a number of times while we were doing other sites for marijuana, and the place is just nonstop, people coming in and out. And that's great for business, but for traffic concerns, for the neighborhood concerns, and for those issues, I just don't agree with the fact that the restaurant is similar to a cannabis place at all. I mean, you go to a restaurant, you're there for an hour and a half having dinner and drinks and so forth, But you go to the cannabis store, and like some of the other applicants that have come before us in other venues, they're in and out in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, if that. I mean, would you agree with that, Mr. Graffio?
Yeah, 8 minutes is about right, yeah.
8 minutes?
Yeah.
So coming in and out for 8 minutes compared to being in a restaurant setting for an hour and a half makes a big difference, in my opinion. So, and that is what traffic is all about. When you have that many people coming in and out, in and out, in and out, it's a constant, like Mr. Duffy said, the numbers are just staggering compared to a restaurant setting, or for that matter. It's just what it is, you know, so I'll let that go as that, and I think I would be looking for a peer review on the traffic to get another idea on what his opinion would be, or the company that we hire. So another concern I had was the fact, coming in and out of the site, Mr. Hammer, you can go left or right, depending on whatever you want to go, right? There's nothing restricting right turn only or left turn only?
That's correct.
Correct, okay. Do you see any problems, people coming out of the site going left? Because you got to cross 2 lanes of traffic to get, to go down Andover Street rather than going to 495, okay?
I don't see a problem with that. That's a typical situation. Left turns are allowed along arterial streets. You have gas stations that have more traffic than this with left turns in and out. Fast food, convenience stores. So a left turn out, as long as you have sight lines, which you do at that location, should not be a problem. It's not a safety problem.
Okay. My next question was sight lines. We have enough sight line distance on that site?
Yes, we do.
Any idea what the footage?
I believe we looked at it way back when, but the road is straight and fairly level. I could look it up in my file and get back to you on that, but
Okay.
but the numbers are ample.
Okay. So, Mr. Hammer, I have another question regarding the building.
I actually have those site distance numbers good on the plans. You have to look at the bigger plan. I can't read my reduced version. So in each direction, it's greater than 500 feet in each direction.
Okay, great. So snow storage hasn't changed at all? It's going to be the same snow storage you've had in the past?
That's
For the
correct.
site,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And we have plenty of parking. You need 29, we have 44, correct?
That's correct.
All right. All right, so regarding the building, how it's sitting there, Mr. Hammer, you're actually looking at the side of it as you come in, right? Not the front? From 133?
Here,
Okay. But I'm coming, as you're driving by,
here you're going to see the end of the
as you're
building.
driving by, you're going to see the end of the building, right?
Sure.
Okay. Any idea, maybe we can put some more detail there, so as you drive by, maybe some full windows or something like that that are...
Sure.
Okay, on the left side, so that it makes it very similar to the front looking? So when you're driving up 133, you take a left, take
Yeah,
a
we
take a
can-
look
we
into
can-
that building?
We can carry that same window facade around to the end with that same stone facade on this
Just take it a look a little better than seeing a blank wall there.
Yeah.
We've done that in previous sites, so, but,
Mm-hmm.
okay. All right, with that, I think I'm all set for now, but I will open it up to the audience. But before I do it, the audience, this location was approved by the Select Board to allow cannabis at that zone. Okay, so we have no control over whether it's going to go there or not. What we do control is the site itself, some of the ins and outs of the site, some of the traffic concerns, and so forth and so on. So if you have questions regarding this particular location, don't bring it up whether it's allowed or not there, because it is allowed by the Select Board. We have no control over that. All right? Once we do our part, this will go to the Select Board for their vote on whether that will be allowed at that site or not. We'll review the exterior factions of the site and so forth and so on, and deal with some traffic issues. So if you have some of those concerns, then we can hear them. But please don't bring up the fact that you don't like it at that particular site, because we don't have any control over that. So with that, I'll open up to the audience, and if you would want to have any question, comments, or concern, go to the podium, your name and address for the record, and then we'll listen.
Hi, I'm John Luciano. Is this on? Yes. I'm John Luciano. I live in Daring Drive, 41 Daring Drive. And my concerns are traffic, obviously. A lot of the stuff presented tonight talked about things that have happened that have been approved over a period of time in the past, like this restaurant and whatnot. I don't know if all these studies that have been done on traffic take into consideration that area has changed dramatically, probably since that restaurant wasn't even approved for that spot. And what I mean by that, and I don't have hard and fast numbers, but it's easily researchable, but at one time, that strip from the tip of where this is going to be placed up to North Street held 11 single-family houses. Since then, we have had 2 condo developments, and from what I understand, the Residence Inn is now going to be converted into apartments. So I'm not sure that a lot of that traffic data, unless the study has taken that into consideration, those numbers may be a little skewed. I think there may be a lot more traffic on that road than you think. Now, you talk about right-hand turns, right-hand turns only, traffic signals. When I moved up there 32 years ago, we had 1 traffic light at North Street. From the Andover line to North Street is 1 mile. We have 4 traffic lights there now. To add another one would be a disaster. We can't get out of our street most times. It's a long wait. And what's even more tricky, getting out of our street, because you do have some really gracious people, when the light is red, they'll let you go, even though the sign has been knocked down to say do not block the street. But there's a 3rd lane in there, that left-hand turn lane only to go to North Street. It's tough to negotiate that, because even if somebody lets you go, you pull out, you don't know if somebody's coming up that middle lane. Plus, you got to look for traffic coming this way, the right-hand turn from North Street. And now, with the new condo development, directly in front of our street is another egress, or the only entrance and egress to the condo development is right smack in the middle there. So there's the potential there for a real log jam or danger. And alluding to Mr. Duffy's concern about it not being a logical place to place this type of a business, just for the record, and I know it has no bearing on any decisions and it's not your ballgame, but there are 2 daycares, a K through 2 elementary school, and a school bus stop right at the top of our street, Daring Drive. All right, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Excuse me, age is catching up. And it just seems to me that the danger of people coming and going so regularly is just not a logical place for this. Is what and again, no dispersions, nobody trying to say, hey, I don't agree with it. You can do whatever you want. The town wants you to put your business in their town. That's great. I understand that. I just think that there might be a better spot somewhere. That's all. I just think there's too much going on at that point, at that spot. But anyway, I hope I made some sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Questions, comments, or concerns? Go right up. Please give your name and address for the record.
Michelle Stella, Polly's Place. As you can see, I was prepared to say a lot more than I guess there is any point to saying now. But regarding the traffic, I'm amazed that nobody mentioned Andover Estates at Polly's Place. This will be directly across the street from these beautiful homes that we bought. Looking out our front windows, this is what we'll be looking at, and I know that's a different issue. Sticking to the traffic, we already have terrible traffic trying to pull in and out of our homes. Especially coming home from work, trying to get down 133 is terrible traffic. And that we all know that'll be prime hours for stopping at a dispensary. It's already dangerous with the different arrows that we've been discussing, trying to pull left, pull in, pull out. It's already insane. I bought there 8 years ago, and all of these businesses have gone up. And, you know, they contribute something to the community. We realize we live in an area where you can, you know, there's commercial zoning there. We respect that. But it's getting out of control over there. And this, especially after hearing this traffic report, please, I beg of you, keep in mind the traffic that we're already dealing with and the insanity that this is going to bring to us. And just to be clear, you're saying the rest of my letter that I don't get to share here, that could possibly be done in front of the select board? Is that what you're saying? So there'd be
The select board's going to make the actual last decision on whether to grant a license at this particular address for this proprietor,
Okay.
not us.
Okay, I understand, so I'll follow that closely. But please do keep in mind, as a teacher myself, first the shock was that it would even be considered near a preschool. The second thing was that it would be considered with the amount of traffic we have across the streets, literally smack dab across the street from a beautiful residential, we are still a residential area. You just keep going up my side of the street, and it's still, where'd he go, Daring Street. I mean, we are still a bunch of residential folks that would like to keep some sense of a residential feel, and this is gonna crush it. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Judith Jadis. I live at 55 Deering Drive, and I just want to reinforce John's comment. Getting out of our street is terrible. So what I have to do is look to the left, see if somebody is going to stop. Even if they stop, as John said, that second lane that's going over North Street is coming up. So I creep out. I look over at Aroma Joe's. Is anyone coming out of Aroma Joe's? Because that's down just a few feet. I look directly opposite, 28 new townhouses, not yet occupied. They can only come out onto 133, not onto North Street. I go down to the left. The people coming out of Cracker Barrel, they are faced with traffic. They get out into the road. They don't remember if they're going north or south on 495. So they're switching lanes right at the light there. An experience that I had years ago when we had a police officer at the end of the road where the hotel is. Now it's a Hilton. Used to be another name. Holiday Inn. And that just opened a month ago. We used to have an officer there. One of the officers told me he did not like to do that detail because the people flying off of 495 would come onto 133 so fast. So those are all the issues. The other thing is we have Raytheon and IRS down in Andover on 133. Some of those people live in Lowell. They're coming right down 133 the whole way. And the Lowell people in the morning, they're going to IRS. And so just to reinforce the traffic issue.
Great, thank you very much. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Shannon Doherty. I do reside here in Tewksbury, but I am here on behalf of the Learning Experience, which is that child care center that's been referenced. We are actually a hop, skip, and jump from this location. Unfortunately, we are just learning of the cannabis site. We had never received a letter or anything. So the majority of our concerns will have to wait until that next meeting. But what I can speak about is the traffic concern everyone else is talking about. We have to go out to that traffic every day to get children on and off the public school bus that do attend our school. So there is most definitely the concern of safety for the children as well as my teachers as they are getting the children off the school bus to attend our school.
I'm actually the center director, Adriana Lopez, from the Learning Experience. So although, like she says, a lot of the concerns can't be addressed till the next time. As for traffic, I'm someone who comes on and off every single day, right onto that street between where the Lowell 5 was. And then you could see the actual cannabis center if it were there. The traffic would be the worst. I have parents who have actually had an accident just coming off from our street onto Andover Street, just from that stop sign, because they're flying down, they're not looking out for that left turn, or they're just crossing over those yellow borders. It's a dangerous spot, and we have a child who we have to get on and off the bus who crossed those lines, and there isn't even a stop sign for us. We have to cross the street on that hard spot with the child. Given too, the bus has the red stop sign that stops, cars don't stop. We've almost been hit twice already, just on this 1 year, and the school year isn't even halfway through. So it is something that's a big concern. With cars trying to rush and get to that next light right up the street, right where the Aroma Joe's is, because cars are trying to fly and skip through the green light, trying to get it to it before it gets to the red stop sign. And then that peak traffic hours, they say, are between 4 and 7. I'm there every single day. Traffic starts at 2:30 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The backup from the red light, because the buses are coming in, because the after-school programs are pulling in, because daycare centers are starting to shut down. Already, ours runs a lot later than the other centers, so the traffic backs up all the way to about 7:30 o'clock at night. Some of which I was driving by today, still catching traffic just to come here. So traffic is a really huge concern on the street, along with all the new businesses, the new condos that are going up, plus the hotel that has just started running a month ago. Imagine how the winter and summer is going to be once it really starts filling up. During those fun, great hours where people are kind of come in more into the city, causing more traffic throughout the day. But that's it.
Okay, before you leave, I have a question for you. How many students you have at the Learning Center?
I have close to 120 students at the moment.
122?
120,
20.
with a building capacity of 168.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions, comments, or concerns? No? Okay, Mr. Plunkett, I just wanted to give you a heads up. The letter you gave us regarding the letter you just gave us.
Yes.
I'm going to present that to Alex for the town council to review, and we'll probably have a decision at some point later, so just so you know.
All right, thank you.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion, we continue the public hearing?
Excuse me, before we finish that motion, the chair had discussed whether a peer review of the traffic data that was submitted is necessary. I just want to confirm whether that's something you want to pursue amongst the four of you, if you want to wait for
Would
the
be
chairman to weigh in.
interested in that myself, and I can poll the board.
Agreed.
Champa? Duffy?
Agreed.
Peer review, okay.
Okay.
So we'll initiate that.
I guess I would like to add to that. We've had a lot of comments about currently vacant buildings that are going to be coming online pretty soon. Let's take some of those things into consideration as well.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Just, when we talk about buildings, again, do not overlook the fact that this building is permitted to be constructed. So that's, I think, addresses, a point there in terms of looking at buildings that are permitted to be used. The traffic report is not an analysis that's not based upon anything other than real numbers. So, our initial hope was that this would be accepted, but with the peer review, we understand. What we'd like to do, though, is to have, with the expectation of getting this back rather than the next meeting, the meeting after next, in order to have enough time.
Okay.
And it would be a situation where, one question that, again, we're dealing with actual numbers and capacity of this site, a commercial site, to handle the traffic expected to be generated from this location. So there was some reference to another site that generates all types of traffic. I don't know if there was a particular location that you're referring to.
I don't think so, Mr. Plank. I think there's a general consensus of the area, some of the places that are vacant. So why Mr. Duffy's comment about let's getting a potential, if you're going to have 38 units that are going to be occupied in the next 6 months or 8 months, or the hotel or something like that, that we should add those numbers into the mix.
Well, I'm sure that the, again, let's get the peer review then, because, this is a professional review and analysis that takes into account all the numbers that have to be considered and put into the overall pot of, overall, and that wasn't even intentional.
Sure.
To be churned together and come out with the analysis.
Okay. So you're looking to do not next meeting, our next meeting is January 8th.
Right, not that one.
Not that one, so the next one would be the
January 22nd.
January 22nd?
I think that would be more reasonable relative to getting this analysis in and let us also.
I agree, Mr. Plunkett. Okay.
Be prepared for that.
So can I entertain a motion for that purpose?
I'd just like to make one more point, if I could, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
before we make that motion, is that also I would like to have a clarification on the preschool. And that may be something for council as well. But I'd like to get a clarification on 500.100.
Say, give me the number again, please, Mr. Duffy.
It's not on the state website listed as a school.
I'm sorry?
It's not listed on the state website as a preschool.
So
The
if I.
500 feet is,
Just let that.
Yeah, if I may, this may have been when I stepped out, Mr. Duffy, but the state law only narrows it to K through 12. So anything outside of K through 12 is not subject to that setback, which is why, technically speaking, as far as statutory concerns are, this doesn't apply.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Board members, how about a motion to extend this to, or continue it till January 22nd?
So moved. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chairman votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up on the agenda, agenda item G, 686 Clark Road, 686 Cultivation LLC. I'll take a motion to waive the public reading.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Chairman votes aye as well. Okay.
That guy right there. Yep.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlemen, when you get settled, for the record, your names, and we'll move on. Thank you.
It's not showing.
Yeah. It's not even let me
We've
do it.
had problems with that, sir, so just in case you don't get it running.
Looking on yours.
It says, like, this doesn't even do anything.
Yeah.
Why? Sorry about that.
I see something unplugged. That's unplugged. Does that mean anything?
No, it's because it's plugged into that one.
Okay.
Some mess of wires.
I see other plugs unplugged as well.
It's doing a little reboot. Hey, look at that.
There we go.
Oh, don't look at that. Oh, come on, girl.
No luck?
What's that? It wasn't.
I was talking to Jim about this earlier. I don't know if it's the board or it's like on the computer.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I can
I
try
would-
to keep trying.
We'll keep messing with it if you want to start your
Do
presentation.
you, I don't know if you have what we filed, because some of this is in there, you might be able to follow along.
We have the file here, sure.
Then that's great, then I think we can probably find it as we
Okay.
go along, to the extent that we're talking about the site plan. My name is Philip Silverman from Vicente LLP.
My name is Jeff Derby. Nice to meet you. My name is Michael Ciccone, 686 Cultivation LLC.
Great, thank you. So we're here tonight for a special permit. This is for a cultivation and product manufacturing facility for adult use marijuana at 686 Clark Road. If you're familiar with the building, it's a 6,284 square foot industrial building. There's 3 bays in there, and it's in the Industrial 1 zoning district. We'll only be using 2 of those bays to start, but we would hope to expand into that 3rd bay as time goes on. It's well situated in this area. There are there's a nearby construction company, a car dealership, and service center. So we don't think it's, particularly off track in terms of what's going on in the area already. I don't know if you can find the site plan that we provided, but there's really no exterior changes to this site that we're proposing. The only changes are some security cameras that will go up in the building, which I think you're probably familiar with from the retail setting. I know you've looked at some of those, and there's just, the building is surrounded by cameras. We'll get into the security in a minute. But there is one curb cut there, existing curb cut off of Clark Road. 10 parking spaces here, including 1 accessible space, which should be sufficient. We expect about 5 employees to start. As it grows, you might get up to 6 or 7, something along those lines. There is an existing shipping receiving area door that we would do the loading at. There's not a lot of loading in and out, quite frankly. We'd expect about 2 or 3 loading trips a week as we're, shipping product out to various, buyers, wholesale buyers. We do have at the rear of the property, there's a dumpster. It'll be enclosed by a fence. This is required by the Cannabis Control Commission, so that dumpster is locked at all times. The only signage you'll see there is probably a small sign on the building for wayfinding. We don't need, this is not something that is advertised. We try to keep the operation as discreet as possible. In terms of trash at the area, the non-marijuana trash goes into that dumpster, as I said, and it is locked at all times. In terms of the marijuana waste, there's all sorts of Department of Environmental Protection requirements. We basically, we don't dispose of it in the trash. We have to bring that out to licensed sites, whether it's the liquid waste or, any marijuana that, for example, becomes contaminated because it falls on the floor or something like that. That all goes off-site where it's taken care of by a licensed facility.
With a chain of custody.
Right. It's all of that is, 2 agents have to view that at all times. You have to have electronic records of the date, the time, the amounts, very strictly controlled by CCC. In terms of traffic, really pretty minimal, I would think. Again, 5 employees. You'll have, some loading, and there'll be some occasional other visitors to this facility, wholesalers who want to come in and see the process and, meetings and such like that. But we don't really expect a great deal of traffic at this facility. We provided a floor plan. So what this basically is in cultivation, it's kind of rooms within a room. So you see the 3 bays, and then within it, you'll see, what are called flower rooms. I think there's 4 of them in this facility. They're generally insulated panels that are put up, create a box. It's pressurized rooms, and there's carbon filtration to contain the odor. There's grow rooms, there's a packaging room. We have a vault. All of the finished product goes into a vault. So, in terms of the security risk, it would be very hard for somebody to get at any of that finished product with some of the other security features, which I'll get into. Might as well talk about that now. Security is very similar to what you've already seen on the retail side. You've got all of the same types of cameras, you've got all of the same perimeter alarms, panic and duress alarms throughout the facility. You've got what's called the seed-to-sale tracking system. Again, like the retail, everything's bar-coded, everything's weighed constantly, and if something's missing, if something that weighed an ounce last week only weighs a half an ounce this week, the inventory system will
Blame Mike.
No thanks. But yeah.
And you've got this monitored 24/7 by off-site security as well. All of the employees have to wear badges identifying who they are. Any visitors have to wear badges and be accompanied throughout the facility by an agent of the company. And everybody that works here is background checked. So that's really the basics. If you have any other questions, they're happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Duffy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing that comes up when people talk about the grow areas is the odor, and it seems like that there's a pretty good control system in there with the charcoal filters that I read about in there.
That's the idea.
I'm sorry?
No, this is also a small facility.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have that kind of a...
Yeah, but I imagine they must be dried in some kind of, like, dryer or drying
There's a dry
machine.
room.
Yeah, here's a dry room, and it'll have probably 4 or 5 charcoal filters in there to control the smell, because that's where the most smell is going to come from, it's dry, and so it'll be all concealed, and then we'll have like 4 or 5 charcoal filters in there to filter out the
Sure.
smell. nobody
So
else-
does that drying process, does it make any, like, other than the odor, is there any residue or dust or anything that
No,
gets
you just
gets
hang the
around?
plant on a hanging facility or a piece of wire.
Yeah.
It's just dry, and it's there until it's dry, and then you trim it up and cut the butter off.
Okay, I was just curious about that. No, I think it looks like a good project, good location, from my estimation. It looks like you've covered all the bases, and most of the controls are with the, with the Board of Selectmen and the Select Board and the Cannabis Commission. So I think from our standpoint, it looks pretty good from my standpoint.
Thank you, Mr. Duffy.
All set?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Champa?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do find it interesting that this facility is also within 500 feet of a preschool, and yet we don't have quite as much concern out there.
Notice that.
So maybe it's not the moral fight that we're led to believe it is. You talked about you will have a few trips a week for loading. What kind of vehicle will that be?
They're unmarked vehicles. It's generally some kind of a Sprinter van, but,
We're not talking about, 32-foot box trucks or anything like that.
No.
Oh, just,
Small vans.
I gotta ask,
Yes.
because some neighbor is I was walking my dog and this box truck came by, so we just gotta
No,
ask.
that's not it.
And you mentioned having visitors, but we're looking at a very small parking allocation. So what kind of visitors do you foresee?
If we had more than 2 or 3 visitors a week, I'd be surprised. These are wholesalers who might want to see the operation or have a meeting to discuss, the terms of the sale, that sort of thing. Sometimes somebody's coming along to try to sell you a particular type of fertilizer product. It's, there's not I don't expect a lot of this, but, you know, there is sort of an office administrative portion of this where you might have a meeting or two with some people.
Okay. Again, I'm not sure, you know, I can imagine in certain circumstances, if you had to open up the facility to review by the CCC or something like that, and if they need to bring 10 people in, they, you know, I mean, it's the state of Massachusetts, they should know to carpool, but just in case. But other than that, I mean, I think we've been through enough of these that we kind of know when the boxes are being checked. Looks like you've got things pretty well covered, so that's all the comments I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Lazat?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, again, from my side, this looks like a fairly well put together plan here. I think with regards to the distance towards the school, I think this is very different than like a retail operation where it's going to be advertised, people are going to see it. Seems like it'd be in your best interest to keep this as discreet as possible.
You will barely know when we're operational. We assigned just so someone who was looking for us could find us.
Right.
Other than that, it's an existing site. There's no exterior site work to be done. If we went in there this afternoon and restriped the existing 9 spaces, it's pristine.
Right. So, yeah, so I think from that regard, this is a very different style establishment and doesn't pose the same challenges there.
And Mr. Lazard, also, everything's being built within the existing walls. You understand that, too?
Yep. Yeah, and I think my only other thing, you mentioned everyone's going to have badges. Is it going to be like electronic entry, exit? Everything's going to be logged, tapped? There's not going to be keys to copy and all that? Okay.
Limited access, people only have access to the part of the facility that they need to be in.
Great. Yeah, no further questions.
Okay, thank you. So I have a couple questions. The hours of operation?
So it's probably something along the lines of 10 to 6. It doesn't mean that there won't occasionally be some people there after those hours. These are living plants. Sometimes you have to sort of accommodate a schedule. So, but I think in general, it's a pretty standard work day is what you'd see.
So no exterior modifications at all to the facility at all? It's all interior?
Just the cameras on the outside.
Yeah, cameras, and that'll be a full security? You'll have all that up to the
Everything you're used
cannabis
to
control
seeing.
standards, right?
Yep.
So, okay. And traffic is not an issue? I mean, you have a couple people coming in and out. I did read about the unmarked vans coming in and out, which makes it great for you guys as far as no identification on the van, so no hijacks, whatever, so. But the other question I had, like Mr. Duffy had, was ventilation. So all the interior ventilation is all per cannabis control?
Cannabis
right,
control,
standards?
and it's, the technology, when this industry started out about 15 years ago, my office, we're in all the different states, we do all cannabis law, so we've seen this all over the place. And 15 years ago, the technology was not what it is today.
Yeah.
And in a small operation, it's particularly, not particularly difficult to contain the odors. So it's, carbon, charcoal filters, there's a lot of different technologies that will get engineered in as this goes forward, but yeah, it's containable.
Okay. With that, I'm all set myself personally, and anybody in the audience have any questions, comments, or concerns? Didn't know if you were part of that, Mr. Gentleman, so, okay, what's the pleasure of the board? We have no outstanding issues, no waivers, right?
Nope, the only things I do want to note, this was also sent to the applicant last week, that there are a list of items that really can't be accomplished until they receive local approval, and that this would pend an approved host community agreement with the select board, which is before them tomorrow evening.
Yeah.
So I would just recommend that if the board were to issue a special permit approval this evening, that we incorporate the items set forth in item number 2 on my memo, where it cites that they should be submitting the security overlay plan with the police chief, the proof of insurance once a license is granted, their provisional license, and of course, pending the approval of the host community agreement.
And
But
the
otherwise,
bond- and the-
everything else is in order.
Bond as well, right, Alex?
Yes.
All right.
I just have one more comment. I know we've talked about the ventilation a little bit. If we were to get, or if the town were to receive complaints about, neighbors being able to smell the cannabis coming out, would you be amenable to increasing your filtration systems and whatnot
Yes,
as
it's
needed.
gonna be state-of-the-art. The interior, the racking systems, and they're gonna be on rollers. The HVAC is gonna be state-of-the-art, and as is the exhaust through activated carbon. You won't smell anything. And of course, we would be amenable to addressing any concerns that were brought up by the town or the neighbors especially.
Okay. Ms. Lauder, is that something we can work into our approval?
Yeah.
As far as
Condition.
that if we receive sufficient concerns, that we can ask them to come back to us and we can talk about remediation?
Yep. And actually, as Mr. Duffy is pointing out, it's already a part of their proposal anyway, and I expect that there's also further elaborations in 935 CMR 500 that list that they can't emit any odor, period. So I can certainly put belt and suspenders on that just to say if there are any concerns from abutters that these folks would come back in front of the board and discuss how they plan to rectify it.
Great. I guess with that, motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye as well. All right. With regard to the special permit,
I make a motion that we accept grant the special permit with the contingencies just mentioned by Ms. Lauder as far as insurance and so on and so forth, and on section 8.7 of her memo.
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you
Great, thank you very much.
We won't disappoint.
I'm sure you won't. Thank you.
Thank you. Was that yours?
All right, moving on to agenda item H, 1600 Shawshene Street. Entertain a motion to continue.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chairman votes aye as well. How about 7:30?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, that's already noted for 7:15.
Oh, okay, I got you. All right. All right, so agenda item I, also 1600 Shawshene Street.
Motion to continue? to
Second.
Our January 8th meeting?
All right. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Agenda item J, 1167, 1177, 1187 Main Street.
Motion to continue to our January 8th, 2024 meeting?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye as well. So that would be also up here at 7 o'clock on the 8th. 1438 Main Street. Motion to continue.
So moved?
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye as well. And that's on the agenda for 7:05 on the 8th. 913 East Street.
So I had communicated with the applicants last week, and they had mentioned that they were waiting on the review from the engineering, and I sent that to them, but I think maybe some wires may have been crossed, and I did not receive any request to continue, but in the sheer absence of anyone here for it, I recommend the board continue to the next meeting.
Okay, let's make a motion to continue.
Motion to continue.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye as well. We'll make that at 7:30 on the 8th. All right, 1879 Main Street, motion to continue.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye as well. That'll be on the agenda at 7:10 on the 8th. And 402 Main Street, motion to continue.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye as well. We're going to continue that to the 26th of February.
So that'll be 7 o'clock on the 26th?
Guess so, so that'll be up to Ms. Lauder, so, but, all right, moving a little farther on, any correspondence? I don't see any correspondence, correct? So before we close tonight's meeting, I'd like to wish my colleagues here tonight and the entire Tewksbury community a Merry Christmas and a healthy, happy New Year, and hopefully it's a good one for everybody in the town as well. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye as well.